Welcome to my new Let's Play of Pikmin 2. With the recent announcement of Pikmin 4, I decided it's finally time to revisit the second game I ever played for my channel. Like when I redid Pikmin 1, this time we'll be trying out the new play control version for the Wii.
Olimar Troublesome? No? Ponte Planetね?なのコスモスサコーシュタキンそうういペタスソオリマ
Berserk. That was close. I've averted a crash landing. Running diagnostics. Alert! Danger! Louis is missing. He must have somehow fallen out of his cockpit. He is not responding via his communicator. He is either flouting protocol or in danger. Olimar, you must find Louis before he freezes to death in the cold of this planet. Wait a moment, look! Could these be Pikmin? They look like they're about to be devoured as we speak. You must help them. Point at the screen and press B to call them with your whistle. You can also hold B to make the sound of your whistle carry farther, remember? Alright, so we have once again crash-landed, but luckily the ship is in one piece this time. We also have a group of red Pikmin fighting a dwarf Bulborb rather unsuccessfully, so let's help them out. The Pikmin ran to your side. They seem to remember you, Captain Olimar. How fascinating. Give them instructions, and do not delay. Hold A to grab a Pikmin, then point at the screen and press, and then release, then point at the screen and release to throw it. So we have a small squad of 5 Pikmin. Because this is the tutorial day, luckily the dwarf Bulborb actually can't eat the Pikmin. But let's toss some Pikmin and defeat this. Attention! Captain Olimar, I've just re-established my communications link with Louis. It is fortunate we have managed to confirm his safety. Press minus to communicate with him. I'm quite interested in the details of his condition. Louis, allow me to assess your condition as per our safety protocols. Are you at all injured? Is that so? Then my concerns are eased. Our communication link shows you are nearby. Can you make your way to our location and rejoin us? I will navigate for you. Press plus to contact me and obtain information about the terrain. Alright, so we are in the Valley of Repose. We are here, the blue arrow is Louis, the red arrow is Olimar. So the ship is also shown on the map as well, but there's also a very familiar object very close by to Louis' location, so let's investigate. Louis, the odd object before you appears to be one of the onions mentioned in Olimar's report. The seed the onion ejected just sprouted. According to Olimar's report, it can be plucked with A. Louis, this must be one of the Pikmin creatures from Olimar's report. It is staring at you. You can press down on the D-pad to issue objectives to your Pikmin squad and direct their movement. You can disband your squad with C. Interesting. Olimar's description of the creatures resembling Pick carrots was strikingly accurate. Louis, my sensors have detected drool in the corner of your mouth. Are you alright? So now Louie has a Pikmin, and with this setup, we actually are able to get even more Pikmin. There's not an onion accessible to Olimar, so we can't actually carry the dwarf bulb orb back unless we weigh down this paper bag that's blocking the way, but this actually needs 15 Pikmin. So, we need to basically get enough Pikmin to weigh that down from the other side as Louie. So yeah, the cursor is tied to the pointer controls of the Wiimote. A throws, down on the D-pad is used to swarm. I don't really like this because you can't like easily swarm and like throw Pikmin at the same time, like on the GameCube version, which is the version I grew up with, and you can also disband with C and call with B. So it's very similar to Pikmin 1's controls. There are some differences that we'll be seeing later, but for now, let's try to carry a pellet back to this onion and see if we can build up our numbers a little bit to reunite the two captains. The onion ejected more seeds. The pellet from that flower must hold nutrients that breed Pikmin. Yes, the Pikmin gather nutrients, haul them to the onion, and further propagate the species. The onion is a Pikmin mothership. Reviewing Olimar's report, it seems repeatedly tapping A lets one rapidly pluck Pikmin sprouts. Alright, so now we have a few more red Pikmin over here. By the way, the same rules apply as before, where if you take a pellet to the corresponding onion, you get a bonus Pikmin. So we will basically get 2 red Pikmin for each of these pellets, which will which will help us quickly get enough Pikmin to get across this obstacle. There's also something off in the distance that we'll investigate on the way over to Olimar. So yeah, this is just the tutorial day. It's pretty chill. One thing worth mentioning is if you're really patient, like in Pikmin 1, you have no time limit for day 1, so one thing you can do is deliberately leave Pikmin in the ground and wait until they flower. So after a set amount of time, a Pikmin that's in the ground will turn into a bud, or the leaf will turn into a bud and then into a flower. Flower Pikmin are the best, but it does take a while. But again, you have no time limit, so hypothetically, if you want an earlier start on like having a stronger Pikmin army, letting the Pikmin with Louie flower is somewhat helpful, but also, unlike in Pikmin 1, we basically are stuck with a few leaf Pikmin by default because these ones were already out of the ground. So yeah, we can't have all flowers at the end of day 1 like in Pikmin 1, but you could have more hypothetically, but I'm not really concerned about that, to be honest. Pikmin 2 in some ways is a little bit more streamlined, so I'm not as concerned about not having flowers from the get-go, and we'll talk more about that later. But for now, let's see what this object is. Perhaps this object is one of the treasures that we are searching for. The only reason we found it here is because this is where you crash landed. How fortunate. I would like to appraise it, but you must regroup with Olimar first. Can you see him? Press Z to move the camera behind you. You can also press left or right on the D-pad to zoom, and up on the D-pad to change angles. So the camera controls are largely unchanged from Pikmin 1, so yeah, left or right will zoom the camera out There are basically 3 zoom levels. Z recenters the camera, which is based on the captain's direction that he's facing, not the cursor necessarily, which can be a little bit confusing. Up on the D-pad switches to an overhead perspective, which I honestly think is really helpful in this version. More on that later. And there's actually a feature they didn't talk about. If you hold left or right, the camera will actually move like to a lower perspective, like closer to the ground. This is actually kind of cool, but also really difficult on this version because of the button layout. On GameCube, I want to say it was like L or R. I can't remember which button actually does it, to be honest. But it's a lot easier to hold like the shoulder buttons and like move and like toss Pikmin and stuff at the same time, but because it's the D-pad and the A button is used to throw a Pikmin, it's actually really hard to like to keep the camera at this lower level, so it's not actually that helpful in this version. It is definitely one of those things that did not translate well to the new Play Control version, but it's still kind of a cool feature. Alright, so we definitely have enough Pikmin to weigh this down, finally, so let's actually call the Pikmin off of the Dwarf Bulb Orb and toss the remaining Pikmin up here. Captain Olimar, Louie, you are reunited at last. This has been a troublesome start to our trip. But now you must feel assured that your combined wits can get you through anything, correct? From now on, use B to form a single group, C to take solo action, and minus to change leaders. So basically, if you call a squad of Pikmin and the captain, or the remaining captain, they'll follow you. When you disband your Pikmin with C, the captain will also be disbanded, so you can actually like divide up the group basically. So it's actually cool. It's one of the things I really like about Pikmin 2. The series, because of the time limit, heavily emphasizes multitasking. But with 2 captains, it's way easier to successfully multitask. I do miss some features introduced later on in the series that make it even easier to multitask, but it's a start. While they're carrying back the Dwarf Bulb Orb, which by the way is actually a bread bug, more on that later, we can excavate this out of the snow. This is actually a new action for the Pikmin. From what I remember, they weren't able to dig in Pikmin 1. But yeah, they can actually unearth certain objects, which will be very helpful. Also, something I was just thinking about that I really like in the opening cutscene is that they make a point of showing Olimar purposefully driving around the asteroid from the beginning of Pikmin 1. I find that to be a really cool, like, Easter egg detail, that they show that Olimar is aware of the meteor this time and is not going to make that mistake again, and yet he runs into a tree. So, still maybe not the best pilot around. So, unlike in Pikmin 1, where you end up with 25 Pikmin if you collect everything, in this game, you end up with automatically 20 Pikmin, which is actually the exact number you need to carry back our first treasure. Also, by the way, if both captains are in the party, the other captain will help you pluck all the Pikmin, speeding that up as well. Also, Pikmin don't take as long to sprout, which is very helpful. So yeah, there's a lot of like quality of life improvements in Pikmin 2 that I really like. I actually like this game a lot, but it's one of the most divisive Pikmin games. I think it is the most divisive Pikmin game, mostly because even though the gameplay has actually been refined quite a bit, the actual level design is interesting, to put it mildly. I still like the game though. I fully admit a lot of it is nostalgia, and I will be sure to point out things I definitely don't like in this game as we go along. One downside of not waiting for the Pikmin to flower is this takes a while. By the way, this game has a lot of product placement. This is a Duracell battery, which kind of helps to establish this as being Earth. Like an abandoned Earth, essentially, with a bunch of like real-world products laying around. That was still the case in Pikmin 1 with like boxes blocking paths, but this definitely helps to ground it even more in the real world compared to even Pikmin 1, which I actually really like. We also have like 3 spots for onions, which will be helpful later on. But with that, it looks like the treasure is almost back to the ship. Worth 280 Pokos, our first treasure is the Courage Reactor. Our first day of exploration has yielded our first treasure. We will be done in record time. I took the liberty of naming it when I appraised it. The name reflects my current thinking. Leave it to me to think up catchy names for hit products. It is but one of my many talents. We shall end our first day here and report back to our president. His face will surely be joyous. However, to communicate with Hokotate, we must fly into low orbit above the planet. We will not return to the surface until morning, so as to avoid the indigenous nocturnal creatures. Being the first day, the daily report is relatively unexciting. We have 1 treasure. And we grew 20 Pikmin. Also, we didn't lose any Pikmin because there's literally no way to lose Pikmin, but it actually tracks very specifically all the ways you can lose Pikmin along with a total. This will be a deathless run. I'll talk in more detail about that at a later time, but this game is very interesting in terms of doing deathless runs, so I'm very curious to see how this will go. You found your first bit of treasure! Fine work! Our future depends on your efforts, so check your treasure hoard regularly. I'll check in often. Keep up the pace. And with that, we have reached the end of our first day. So, there's still more to find at the Valley of Repose, so we'll be returning there next time. So thank you for watching, and I hope you'll join me next time for more Pikmin 2.